بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين.
Interpretation of the Holy Quran.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. With the help of Allah, we began a brief commentary of Quran. We got to chapter Nisa, the fourth chapter of Quran, which is revealed in Medina. It has 176 verses. Please listen to verse 117 and 118.
إن يدعون من دونه إلا إناثا وإن يدعون إلا شيطانا مريدا لعنه الله وقال لأتخذن من عبادك نصيبا مفروضا.
They do not call besides him on anything but idols, and they do not call on anything but a rebellious shaitan. لعنه الله وقال لاتخذن من عبادك نصيبا مفروضا. Allah has cursed him, and he said, most certainly I will take of your servants as appointed portion. In previous verse, Allah said, surely Allah does not forgive a person who associates anybody or anything with God. And He forgives whatever a person does if it is less than shirk, polytheism. In this verse, Allah says, if a person associates somebody or something with God, he should know that أَيَّدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ إِلَّا إِنَاثًا. He does not call anybody besides Allah unless Inas. Inas, interpreters of Quran and scholars have mentioned different meaning for that. One, they said Inas means something which is very flexible and very weak. If they say to women mu'annas, from anas, it means somebody which is very flexible and is weak, is not very strong. And Allah says, whoever will be called by people other than God is somebody which is weak, either idols or a person or some people. This is one of the meaning. So Inas means somebody or something which is weak and has no power and ability. Another meaning for Inas means female. Allah says they don't call anybody except some female. Allah said female because wants to point out to the idols that pagans were worshipping, and they were calling their idols with the name of female. They call it Uzza and Lat and Manat, and these are the names of female. They called it they named their idols as a female name, and Allah says they don't call anybody besides God unless these idols that definitely they cannot do anything and they don't have power to defend themselves, let alone to help somebody else. So, polytheist is a person who calls somebody or something beside God, and Allah says definitely if polytheists will worship somebody or something, they call either the idols that are not able to help anybody, or they worship a weak person, weak items. So either Anas refers to the names of the female that polytheists, pagans had put it on their idols, and Allah says they worship them, or Allah wants to say that they don't worship except somebody which is very weak. Anyway, Allah either point out to the name that pagans had put on their idols, or Allah wants to say that they don't call anybody unless the one which is very weak, or something which is very weak. We understand from these verse, first, Allah says, whoever does not worship God, he will worship somebody, and he calls somebody which is very weak, and it is equal of calling shaitan. Because Allah says in this verse, أَيَّدْءُونَ مِن دُونِهِ إِلَّا إِنَاسًا, they don't call anybody other than God except Inas. وَأَيَّدْءُونَ إِلَّا شَيْطَانًا مَرِيدًا, and they don't call except shaytanan marida. And shaytanan marida, it means the rebellious shaitan. So one time Allah says they don't call except Anas, and again Allah said they don't call anybody besides God except the rebellious shaitan. Allah wants to say that Anas is equal of rebellious shaitan. Not definitely they are the same, but both of them are weak, and both of them are not able to help anybody, anything. In this way, Allah emphasized that any way, any road that we will choose for ourselves other than Sabilullah, Allah's way, is the shaitan's way. Because Allah says, أَيَّدْءُونَ, they don't call except shaytanan marida, rebellious shaitan. By this way, Allah will condemn any kinds of worshipping. We must worship, and we can worship only the one who deserves it. Who deserves it? The one who gives ability to us, the one who has created us, the one who gives sustenance to us. Such a person is able to be worshipped, because worshipping is the highest level of humbleness. The highest level of humbleness should be in front of somebody that anything we have is from him. And definitely idols or shaitan, none of them have given to us anything. Anything we have is from God, and only God deserves to be worshipped. Then Allah says, لَأَنَهُ اللَّهُ وَقَالَ لَاتَّخِذَنَّ مِنْ عِبَادِكَ نَصِيبًا مَفْرُوضًا. Then Allah says that Allah cursed shaitan. Allah cursed shaitan, it means Allah has made it far from his blessings. لَأَنَهُ اللَّهُ, Allah has cursed him, it means shaitan, and he said, most certainly. And he said, وَقَالَ. From here, Allah starts to talk about the shaitan. What did he say? When Allah asked shaitan to leave the paradise, shaitan talked to God, and he said, فَبِإِذَّتِكَ لَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. I swear to your honor, I'm going to mislead all the people. إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. Unless very, very special people who are very, very pure, very sincere people. Otherwise, I'm going to misguide all of them. And here Allah starts to talk in behalf of shaitan, that when shaitan said, وَقَالَ لَاتَّخِذَنَّ, Allah cursed shaitan. Allah wants to emphasize that shaitan is far from Allah's mercy. If shaitan is far from Allah's mercy and Allah's grace, there is no way that shaitan will be help us, because he is not helped himself, let alone to help somebody else. And Allah says that shaitan is telling, لَاتَّخِذَنَّ مِنْ عِبَادِكَ نَصِيبًا مَفْرُوضًا. He said to Allah that definitely, لَاتَّخِذَنَّ, la and ne, in, لَاتَّخِذَنَّ, in at the end of the word, it is for emphasizing that definitely, he said, I will take from your servants a portion one. It means a good portion of your servant, I'm going to take them for myself. Some of your servants, I'm going to take your servant and appointed portion for myself. By this way, Allah is warning us that shaitan is swearing, and he swore to take a portion of my servant. It means to do something that people will follow him and worship him in one way or another, and take only their help from shaitan and follow him. We ask Allah to help us to be careful about shaitan all the time. Thank you very much for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.